still vaguely make out where these bastions were when looking at Amsterdam today.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are going to be checking out star forts today. More specifically, what are star forts, or bastion forts, I guess they're also called. This channel's Why on Earth. I don't think I've came across this channel before, so we're going to check it out. But it says star forts or bastion forts come in various configurations, flavors, and sizes. Some have been maintained while others have slowly disappeared into urban expansion or have been demolished completely. This video explains what bastion forts are in general, how they work, and what are some of the main components are. It'll tell you how and why they came to be, along with what made them obsolete. Also, how they differ from medieval forts. Well, they're obsolete because we're not out there battling anymore.
With centuries of kingdoms, duchies, religious and cultural differences and strife, Europe is packed with historical sites. And places like these are the result of the most destructive in historical sites. And places like these...
That looks really cool. Especially the one on the left, because it's got like layers coming out of it, like just extra triangle pieces. Very cool. The one in the middle is different than the one, like the ones that I've seen actually, because it's kind of like oblong shaped.
Are the result of the most destructive invention up until that time. Cannons. My name is Sebastian. This is Oddworld.
So without cannons, we wouldn't have star forts, huh?
Medieval fortresses.
Oh, that's cool. He literally made his name out of satellite photos. That's cool.
Medieval fortresses were usually built high or on hills to make it possible to rain down arrows on approaching enemies. But these straight and tall walls, curtain walls, proved vulnerable to cannon fire. After the invention of gunpowder in the 9th century in China, the first depictions of cannons appeared there in the 12th century. Spreading west across the Eurasian continent, they were widespread in Europe and the Middle East by the end of the 14th century. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 was a wake-up call. Its massive walls were seen as impenetrable, but Sultan Mehmed II used his powerful cannons to breach even these walls, proving medieval design was no longer effective. The epitome of classic European cannon design was reached around 1480, with the design not changing much all the way until the 1750s.
Isn't that crazy how cannons literally changed the design of fortresses? But I mean, it makes sense because cannons would be the only thing that would make the tall walls not matter. Because they could just blow a hole in the bottom of it and then just get their troops in.
And it's in this time we also see defensive architecture change as a response to this formidable foe. Gone were the tall towers and straight walls of medieval forts, and in came the bastion fort, or star fort.
I wonder if this was the first one that they did then, Palma Nova, Italy. Let me know if you know, guys. Down there. By the way, links to the original videos down there too. You can check it out.
Although not a new invention, these fortresses had low, sloped earthen banks called glacis. These were...
He said it's not a new invention, but... So they just used like pre-existing stuff, put it together, turned it into a star fort, it sounds like.
Sloped on the outside towards any possible attacker, and made it difficult for cannon fire to seriously damage the citadel behind them.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, because cannons, they have to be on flat ground, right? So if you build like an embankment, that would distance them from you for sure.
By creating these jutting bastions, the flanks or curtains of a fortress could be overseen, eliminating dead zones. Moats had proven themselves during medieval times and also found their way into bastion forts. In between the bastions, some forts would also have tenails, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. These defensive works provided extra protection for the curtain, where a postern gate or secondary gate could be hidden from sight. Excellent for sneaking unseen out of your fort to surprise the attackers.
Very interesting. And yeah, of course, the moat would keep the distance for sure even better because you can't just put a cannon across it. Then you got that embankment. Very cool.
The more common ravelins are these detached outworks and would often sit in front of a curtain wall, further protecting these. Ravelins were so designed that they would split incoming forces. They would also have a very low wall, or no wall at all, on the citadel-facing side. That way, enemy forces could not find shelter within them.
Right.
Other outworks were hornworks or crownworks, the latter one having one or more complete bastions itself. There were many variations, configurations, and ways of thinking that evolved over time. Bastion forts were often built using earth and brick, as brick does not shatter on impact the way stone does.
True.
When shot with a cannonball.
It's just crazy to think about, like, it's not just a cool design. Like, that actually had function. There's a reason why it was designed like that, and you just get like a cool design out of it for like a bonus, pretty much. Very cool. So these are the outer ones. This one, I don't remember what he called it. Yeah, so that basically does cover, so like with all the different angles and stuff you have, that does cover like all the spots. So there's literally no blind spots. And they just look cool.
Impact the way stone does when shot with a cannonball. The first bastion forts were developed in Italy around the turn of the 16th century in response to the French invasion. Michelangelo used star forts in the defense of Florence, and it was from Italy that the practice spread, influencing fort design for another 300 years.
Jeez.
Dutch architect Menno van Coehoorn and French military engineer Vauban further improved on the practice with many new additions and inventions. The design practice wasn't only applied to military positions, it was also used in the defensive works of cities. Famous examples such as Naarden in the Netherlands, Palmanova in Italy, and you can still see the defensive ring around the old city center of Nicosia in Cyprus.
Oh, wow. Yeah. There's no moat around that one though, right? Or did it used to have a moat and it dried up? That's cool. Like you can just see where it still is, even though the city built or like grew past that.
But were they effective? Well, centuries of use of these massive earthworks would suggest that yes, they were. Bastion forts and their design principles proved their use many times over the centuries. For instance, in the defense of Pisa in 1500.
Oh yeah, and there's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Which, man, I should do a video on that actually. I don't know anything about it besides it's just like leaning and it's really old. That's pretty much all I know. I might do that soon.
Often the medieval curtain walls were torn down, wide ditches were dug, and gently sloping walls created. Usually made from earth, which was cheaper than brick. The city of Amsterdam built 26 bastions in the 17th century, and luckily they were never seriously tested as apparently the maintenance required for such a massive piece of infrastructure was difficult, and the Amsterdam defensive works deteriorated quickly.
Wow.
You can
Okay, I was getting ready to say, like, I wonder if you can still see them. I guess that's what we're doing now. We're checking them out.
still vaguely make out where these bastions were when looking at Amsterdam today.
I want to see it before he imposes the map over it.
Make out where these.
All right, right here. Yeah, so it looks like some of them have been moved. Some of them are missing here. Yeah, that's cool. You can still see. But those ones aren't very, like, they don't stick out very much. They're not very pointy like the other ones.
These bastions were when looking at Amsterdam today. The Italian city of Siena even bankrupted itself to pay for its defenses in 1544.
Jeez. I mean, it's better to bankrupt your city than to just, like, you know, get your city lost to enemies, right?
But with the advent of artillery and explosive shells, the bastion forts, or star forts, started to be replaced by the much simpler polygonal forts.
Polygonal forts? I don't know if I've ever seen these ones. Malta, huh?
In the 19th century. And with the advent of tanks and airplanes in the 20th century, fortresses as a concept became more and more obsolete.
Yeah.
The design principles behind Bastion Forts had an enormous impact on many European cities and landmarks. Aside from a number of pristine, preserved examples, you can also find traces of their use in cities today, such as Amsterdam, Vienna, Hamburg, Barcelona, and gorgeous Copenhagen, as well as former European
Okay.
colonial structures, such as the Dutch-built Jaffna Fort in Jaffna, Sri Lanka.
See, that one looks cool. I mean, they all look cool, but that one's got the quintessential, like, really pointy parts.
Thanks to my patrons for making this video.
All right. Well, that was the end of that. Let's check out some comments. Somebody said, if someone just showed me this video and told me it has 500,000 views, I'd believe that easily. It's really high quality. How many views does it actually have? Oh, this was from a few years ago. It's only got 58,000 views. That's crazy. Let's see. Castles were not built high and on mountains to rain down arrows on approaching enemies, but to limit approaches the enemies can take. Yeah, true, because it's like, it's going to be hard to get to a castle and take it over if it's on top of like a giant cliff, right? Let's see. Although being on a tall peak makes it impossible to resupply your castle during a siege, so basically such castles were merely a time delay for reinforcements to arrive. Yeah, true. That would also kind of screw yourself over if, like, you can't resupply, right? It says right here, the star forts with islands outside the main star structure most likely weren't defensive structures because the islands were to form a visual obstacle to the defender upon evacuation, which the attackers can use to advance towards the fort and its cover, which is the exact opposite of what these forts were supposed to do, or B, are terribly difficult to man and evacuate. I don't know. It could be strategic. It could be, I don't know. It's really hard to tell. That was hundreds of years ago, right? Let's see. Very clean and well made. Awesome job. Wish you all the success. Keep up the good work. Yeah, I agree. Very good quality video. Let's see. The fort in Malacca, built by the Portuguese when they captured the maritime city 1511, has similar designs and 5 bastions. Remnants of the fort still exist today with parts of it excavated. So half of it was like buried, I guess, for the longest time, right? So part of it's excavated. Well, anyways, I'm going to end up leaving the video there. So hit like, hit subscribe. Have a super fun, awesome day. Take care.